Jim, we're blinking.
Welcome back to the Refined Life Podcast. AF, Refined AF, AF, Refined AF. That's the new intro. Yeah.
Did you make that up? Or are you going to take creative rights?
I own that song. If any of you try to take it, straight to court with you. I am the creative
I'm just
rights
checking.
trademark tm.com. I own it.
And I think that's a perfect lead into why AF is here, and and you singing the new jingle. Apparently, even though you wrote the original jingle as well. Today we're talking about victim mentality.
Victims of mentality.
I feel like I run into this on a constant basis, and if on my short version of this idea. It used to really piss me off. Mm-hmm. And now I almost feel sorry for people when I see that victim mentality, because in my mind, I'm like, your life is never going to be as awesome as mine. That sucks that's the way you think. Because I don't know that outside of like getting into an argument with your wife and getting your feelings hurt in something, I don't know that I ever take that victim role. It's like my pride is too great. I'm like, no, I'm not a victim. I screwed that up myself. I didn't. No one screwed anything up for me.
That was my mistake. When it comes to the victim mentality, I think at points in everybody's life, they've had an upset moment where they may have had a moment of letting themselves be a victim. They might have been upset about a situation that happened to them.
Yeah, for sure.
And they lived through that. But what we're talking about in the victim mentality is when you live your entire life thinking that everyone's out to get you, that everyone's trying to screw you over, and that every single thing you do is never going to add up to what you want in this life. And I think that people that live with that mentality stay exactly where they're at because they always think nothing's going to work out. And I'm the same with you. I do feel bad for those people because I wake up every day, even when things are at their worst in my life, when I'm going, I was like, we're going to make it through this.
Well, and
I'm going to get through it. I'm going to change it, you know?
Yeah, and words from one of the people that we were talking about earlier of, you know, I believe his words to you were, come on with it, I got nothing left.
Yeah.
I don't have anything. And I think it starts there because when I wake up, no matter how low I am and no matter what has happened to me, I still, on a whole, look around at what do I have, though.
Yeah.
And for you to say, I don't have anything else, I've lost everything. It's like,
I got nothing to lose, I think was the exact words.
It's just an ignorant thing to say, I have nothing else to lose. Really? What about your right leg? Huh? What about, I mean, like, look around. Like, you're an able-bodied person who has a brain. You can go out and create.
And talented. Talented.
Right. So,
this person is talented.
But I'm saying most people in general. It's like, I mean, like, have you ever seen anyone that takes on that victim mentality and you're like, well, I mean, he has no arms, he has no legs, he can't even speak. Everyone, like, if when you say that, I have nothing to lose. Really? Yeah. I think you do. I think you got a lot to lose.
I think even, you know, just with you saying that, the guy that we're talking about, and we're not going to give any credence to the name, but he is a very talented guy. He has a lot of knowledge.
Very able.
Very able. Overall, not a bad personality, you know, like has a lot of things that he could do a lot with, but I think his mentality that everyone's trying to get him and everyone's out to screw him over keeps him from ever reaching.
Or even taking it a step further, everything that is wrong with their life is somebody else's fault.
Right.
Well, and let's get off the topic of that person, but and move into the in general and people in general. We've all come across those things, whether it was a parent or a brother, a sibling of some kind, or an ex-wife or an ex-husband, and I think for a long time I tried to take people like that and tried to show them what they did have to lose.
Yeah.
And it's just tiring. It's like, I don't know, I find myself getting very impatient with that mentality. And if you come across that way at all, I know it's not a Christian thing to do, I just kind of write you off. I'm just gone.
Yeah.
I remember I was reading UOU by Eric Thomas, which if you haven't heard Eric Thomas speak, you need to. He's
I love him.
One of the
Hip-hop
best in the
preacher,
world,
baby.
for sure, yeah. But in his book, he said something along the lines of, are you a victim or are you working against yourself? Because them are two complete different things, right? A victim is someone, rape victim comes to mind. But if a lot of stuff is wrong in your life, chances are you're just working against yourself. If I'm broke as a joke right now, it's very easy for me to say interest rates suck, right?
Yeah.
That's a little bit of victimhood there. Have I been working against myself? Maybe.
Yeah.
I probably did get a little complacent. I probably did stop attacking my referral partners the way I used to.
Or
right?
it could just be what we're spending. Our pastor brought that up not long ago. He was like, everybody wants to complain about presidents. And he was like, if you don't have any money right now, it's not Biden's fault. We know that everything goes up and down. You made money. What did you do with the money?
Yeah.
That's it. And he's like, we talk about, God taking care of things, but God also didn't tell you that you were allowed to have a $90,000 vehicle. So if something's wrong in your life, you might have to look around. And I think all of us can find ourselves in that boat of when money's good. Even if we didn't mismanage the money, we still definitely spent way more money when money was good that you definitely could have prepared for your future differently, so.
Well, and I think the fix is you got to go make more money. Like at some point, I think you hit a spot and you're like, there's hours in the day that you can go out there and earn some more.
You either got to make more.
There's so many opportunities now, from going and getting people's groceries for them to driving Uber to all this other stuff. And I think we do, get in places where we feel like, we're too good for that. Not necessarily too good, but like, well, that's not what I do. Well, it might be what you have to do at a certain point.
Well, and it matters. Like, we have this talk with our kids all the time of like, you either have to make more money or you have to change what you're wanting out of life. Yeah. That's just the way it is. If you want an $800,000 house, this is how much it costs. That's just what it is. Yeah. If you want to drive a $90,000 vehicle, this is what the payments are going to be. Understanding what are you looking for. I hear younger people say all the time, I just don't think that I need to make as much money as my parents do. Well, you sure shit do to live like they do.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the numbers are just numbers.
Yeah.
And there's no issue on either side. But once again, that whole victim mentality of things is going, no, understand that if you want to live this life over here, you're going to have to make more money.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with you going, I don't want to make more money. I don't want to spend my life chasing a dollar. That's fine. But you're going to have to change the way that you live in order to do that.
Yeah. Now, I think there are certain situations where things do change. I can tell you what I spend on groceries now versus 4 or 5 years ago. What I used to get for $250 cost me $500 now. It has almost doubled, and maybe more than doubled. So I think those things come in, but I also think you kind of got to plan ahead for that. You have to know that, like you said, inflation goes up, prices change, the amount of money. You look at the trucking industry. My first ever investment was into 2 Century Class Freightliners. And, honestly, the amount that it costs to ship stuff now, the amount that it costs to put those trucks on the road, everything else is more. So, obviously, the person that's buying, like if I have a Sonic drive-in and I got trucks bringing me frozen food every single week, now it costs that truck, however much thousands extra dollars to run that week. That's going to get passed on to the business. Well, then the business is going to pass it on to the customers. And then the customers are going to return. They're going to go and they're going to say, hey, I need to make more money. Everything costs more. So then they give them more money, but then they increase the price of the products and it goes back over here. And it just keeps going this circle. So you obviously have to always have a plan in place that like, hey, how am I getting to that next level? Or I think there is a spot where you're like, you know what? I make enough. I think there are people out there that have a lifestyle that I think their driving force that they wake up every day isn't because I need money. It's because I have so many people working underneath me that I want to make sure they get money. I want to make sure that I'm providing a great place to work and all that other stuff. And because we've talked about this before, but I'm like, if you're worth $100 million, what's your driving factor? So
we had that discussion on a drive this weekend with one of the kids because the Powerball or whatever was up. Was it like 262 or something like that?
I don't know.
It was a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and my wife was like, "What would you do if you had $262 million?" And I was like, "Well, the government would make me give 131 of that away right away. So now I got 131 million dollars. What am I going to do with that? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, exactly what I'm already doing, but better.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that life that I've built, and I think all of us sitting here, the life that you've built is the life that you want.
Yeah.
You know, and most people, I think, would say something like, well, I want to travel and I want to do this and I want to do that. It's like, well, yeah, but if you told me, Jared, I'm going to give you $131 million, all you're going to do for the rest of your life is just travel, I would immediately that makes me want to vomit. So you're telling me that now I don't have to do anything, but I also have no purpose whatsoever here on this earth.
Yeah.
I have that would drive me nuts. Like, I look at the things that I already do and I go, now I could see if you gave me that much money, how much easier it would be to build these companies in a better way and be able to spend more. You know, I wouldn't have to be on this job site as long. I could leave and go home and spend more time with my kids. I might not even go there at all. I might just look at it and be like, I just like building this company and I'm going to pay these people this much money to go do that because I like walking out here.
And I think there's something about the accomplishment of man, I built this thing and I succeeded, I accomplished, and that task is done, and now you give yourself a new one. Me and you, all of us, I think we're very much the kind of people that take on more than we probably should sometimes. It's like, oh, I can handle, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that. And I know he'll tell you, Vinny will say yes to 15 things, and then he'll be like, how are you going to do all that? I'm like, I don't know.
You've gotten a lot better.
I have gotten better. I've learned. I still do answer my text messages, but but I've gotten a lot better just at being able to. The power of the word no is big sometimes. Sometimes when you say no, your price goes up because people don't think you're just willing to do anything all the time, And I think that's a beautiful thing, and it's a great spot to be in when you have the ability to say no. I was out with Toby Keith for several years when I got my record deal, and guys worth.
He said no all the time.
He didn't say no. The people around him had to say no because he got approached about something 50 times a day. Hey, you want to invest in this? Hey, you want to do that? Hey, can we be, he told me, he said, Vinny, you know what the crazy thing is? He's like, when I didn't have anything, nobody would give me anything. And now that I have more money than I'll ever be able to spend in my lifetime, in my kids' lifetime, in their kids' lifetime, he's like, people try to give me shit for free all the time now. Free truck, free clothes, free, everything. Everything's free. And he said, he goes, it's odd. He said, but the thing was interesting, after I was sitting there with him one night and realized, because at that point, I was 22, 23 years old. I didn't even fathom the amount of money somebody could have like that. And I'm sitting there talking to him one night, and it was me, him, and Rodney Carrington sitting on the bus. And I asked him, I just flat out, I was like, man, what else is there for you to do? And he goes, he goes, I've been everywhere I want to go, and I've seen everything. He goes, I was like, why do you still go out and play every night? He goes, because I love playing music. And now you can tell that because this dude is going through stomach cancer. He's in a pretty bad shape. He still just wants to go play music. And he said, man, he was like, I want to help somebody else succeed to where I succeeded to. I think that's why he started the record label and all that kind of stuff. But he talked about it. He's like, man, he goes, I enjoy the simple things in life. So you work all this and you gain all this money and you gain all these things, all this great stuff. And then in the end, it's like, I want to sit around the house and talk with my kids. I want to hang out with my granddad again, or I want to hang out with, see my mom. I want to go to Thanksgiving dinner with the family, or I want to go hang out with my buddies and, go catch a fish. So it's amazing to me when you see these guys that have created all this wealth and all these things in their life. Eventually, they always go back to the simple things in life, going out and catching a fish with their buddies. Now, they might do it from a yacht, from a boat.
That reminds me, did I send you guys that video of the young girl asking where do 35 to 40-year-old people hang out?
Yeah.
It's like, she asked, where do 35 and 40-year-old people hang out? And this guy's like in his mirror, he's like, come here. He gets up close and he's like, we don't hang out. We sit and enjoy the houses that we worked so hard to buy. Why would we buy a nice house and not stay home to enjoy it? He was like, we don't like loud noises. We don't like.
We want to be in bed by 9 o'clock.
We don't want to be in line anywhere.
Yeah, but it was true. I think another prime example of that is Jim Carrey. I just saw this quote the other day, and as crazy and goofy as we grew up with Jim Carrey being, this guy's
He's smart, man.
put in so much knowledge, and I think it's because he went through the depression and all the hard stuff. Because if you read his story and see more of his story, the dudes went through a lot of ups and downs. But he said, I wish that every single person could get rich and famous just so they could see that that's not the answer. I was like, holy crap, dude.
So with that answer and back to that victim mentality, we were talking about a lot has come up in like different Bible studies here lately of the fact that the issue is that we can only see this world. The fact that you desire more, that we just constantly want more and more. The only thing that can actually fill that is God. You're wanting the afterlife. You're wanting all of that, but we can only see what's in front of us. So you put all of that pressure of more on your finances. You put all that pressure of more on your wife. You put that on your kids and what they're going to do. You put it in all these things around you, and then you create like, that's going to make me happy, and that's going to make me happy, and that's going to make me happy. And I mean, they're fun. It's nice to have a nice house. It's nice to have a nice vehicle. But at the end of the day, all of you know damn straight that it didn't make me happy. It's nice.
It's not the type of walls that you have in your house. It's not the type of roof you have over your head or the amenities. It's the concept of love and what's underneath that roof, what's in between those walls. I think that make that, for me, like anybody, I think everybody has their own, frustrations with the day and everything. But at the end of the day, I know that in my house, I got a woman who loves me, who's got my back, who will be there for me no matter what. I got 2 kids that think I'm the greatest thing in the world. My son thinks I'm the strongest human in the world because I am. That's why I wear the Superman thing.
Does he, though? Because he thought that my daughter was stronger than you for a while.
That's true, but that was a while back. He thought because I was older than her that she was stronger than me.
He's like, old people are weak.
Yeah.
All right.
The TVs were black and white.
At least they're on the same wavelength. So
we've brought up the victim mentality in financial ways a lot, but Jeff, what are other ways that you see that victim mentality being carried out?
Man, it's a lot of times it's people going through divorce.
Yeah.
I've got some friends recently that are going through divorce, and it's usually somebody pointing the finger. There's very seldom anybody taking responsibility that's going through a divorce, male or female. You'll not catch one of them saying, I did this. I played a part in this.
So that's an interesting one. Out of curiosity with the 3 of us here, did any 3 of us, I mean, I know what I did. Did you take blame for your divorce in any way?
Obviously in the beginning of my hopefully only divorce, in the beginning of my divorce, it was an odd situation how it all came about, but I didn't see any flaws in what I had done. But as I got separated from that situation, got a little bit older, got a little bit more, wits about me, a little bit more life experience, I realized a lot of things that I could have been better at. I was still a young man, in my opinion. I was, 28 years old. I might have actually turned 29 by the time I got married, but I was 28 when I got engaged. And my whole life had been based around, how do I get this record deal? How do I, how do I get myself up there? And I think that mentality that I had was still that even after marriage. Whereas I think as you get married, as you have kids, as you come into that life, other people have to be considered in your plans. And I think for me, I still had the mentality of go, 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 do for you, do for you, do for you. And that leaves the other person feeling kind of by themselves in that marriage. Now, I was a good husband. I was a loving husband. I was, romantic and all that good stuff. But I think I never took time to be like, what is it that she wants on a daily basis? What are her dreams, and all that kind of stuff. Now, I did help her build a pretty awesome company, But to me, it was just like, it was just a little side hustle thing that she was doing, and then that thing ended up making, $1 million a year. So, but
the short answer is no, not really.
Not in the beginning, but as I got older, I did.
Right. And you, I mean, you're talking about people who are freshly going through divorce, so they are still in the beginning of.
Yeah, and I'd also think there's a major difference in who you're surrounded by as you're going through that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have, I'm just going to go from a male perspective. If it's a male friend that's going through a divorce who is surrounded by people like us 3 who can point out your wrongs
Yeah.
right? Like friends are supposed to do. How do they receive that?
Yeah.
Do they deflect?
Constructive criticism.
Yes. Do they deflect and not accept it and keep pointing the finger? Well, it's because blah, 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 blah. Or do they actually accept it, right? Because you're going to find either way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when at his age, you probably didn't have many friends that were going to tell you.
No. I mean,
no, with
right,
enough
what's wrong.
experience to talk
Right,
about it.
yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think as you get older, that changes a little bit. But
I also don't think she would have known that diagnosis at the time.
right,
We were both young. We both, had different mentalities. I don't think she would have known that was part of it, that she felt that way. So as she began to distance herself, as we, the intimacy stopped and all the other stuff stopped, it didn't just happen because she hated me all of a sudden. I didn't do anything to make her hate me, But I think it's because this disdain for each other kind of starts to happen. You get a little friction in there, and then, one thing leads to another. Next thing you know, you're watching TV in a different room, and they're doing their own thing, you're doing your own thing, whatever. And I think it leads you to a place where it can only get worse. Mm-hmm. So I think as you get older, you notice those trends. You see those things like, hang on a second, we need to fix this before it gets bad.
Yeah.
that's right.
And I also think that we learn, a lot of people get married once and, they get divorced and then they get married again, and then they're way better husbands and wives than they were the first time.
That's me.
Same.
Yeah. So I mean, I think experience does that, but the victim mentality, like what you're talking about in the marriage, I do definitely have a lot of people who's like, I did nothing wrong. I'm like,
Right.
Nothing. Like,
Yes, that's what most people say. So,
Yeah.
Did you admit those faults?
Yeah, to an extent, I would say so. I was the one that said I'm done here. So that within itself is a fault, right? Just cold turkey, like I can't do this anymore. So I've always accepted that. But looking back, I think I've grown into more responsibility in that as well. Just kind of like Vinny's speaking. And granted, I was older when I went through mine. But it did take me some time to realize things I could have done differently. I think probably still have the same end result. I mean, at the end of the day, I just don't think it was the right fit.
right.
And that's not to say that God can't work miracles and all that. Like, I'm not discounting that stuff. If you're going through a divorce, fight for your marriage if you want it.
Yeah.
I was just at a place where I no longer wanted it.
Yeah.
Well, I question that because I think that me and you've had these sort of talks before and are on the same page with that. When I look back at my first wife, that we should have never gotten married. There wasn't enough in common out of the gate.
Yeah.
Like why that ever happened. And but I mean, I very much took blame for being the asshole in the relationship. But with that being said, the things that I was doing wrong were so blatantly in your face that there wasn't really a way that I could be like, nah, I mean, it's all her. Now, even with that, though, I don't think that I threw much shade back as far as, hey, she's the reason I'm doing this. But I did understand that like, hey, a lot of the things I was doing was a direct result from the things that you were doing that's not so in your face. It's just that my flaws typically are very much on the outside. You're going to see it. What you see is what you get, and I also think that I had a major issue with the fact that for myself, I had an issue that I just expected you to accept it and move on. Like, I felt like I could be like, listen, I was a crappy husband, and so you should want this divorce too.
Yeah.
And she's like, but, and I was like, what do you mean, but? Like, I was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, no buts
You
here.
should-
Yeah.
You should just get out of this. This is bad.
Yeah.
Clearly, we're not meant to be together, or I wouldn't have treated you that way. That's not, and I just wrote it off like, hey, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
You know, and just thinking of all these different types of victim mentalities you can have, because I never really thought about it on that until you said that a while ago, because I've always put it as the person, like you said, that blames everybody else for everything that's going on in their life. But I think the victim mentality could also be, you've heard guys say, oh, well, girls don't want the nice guy, and I think whenever I was younger, very large, all that kind of stuff, I would be like, yeah, girls don't like me because I'm just their best friend. Like, I'm the nice guy. They put me in the friend zone, all this other kind of stuff. And I think I had that victim mentality, but I went into every relationship figuring and going ahead and assuming that I would become that. or that I was that. So there was times, in one of the first like real relationships I had, I thought that person only saw me as their friend, and I thought they liked somebody else in our group of friends. Until one night she literally sent me a MySpace message, and she was like, "Why is this girl in your top 8?" And I'm like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Well, because she was at the show tonight, and she asked me if I'd move her to the top 8, so I did."
The top 8.
Yeah. Now, you start off the top 4.
I missed the top 8, man.
Yeah,
I
me
wish.
too. I had like 24 though, because I was so nice. I'm like, "Oh, y'all add 8 more. I'll add 4 more. Whatever." But I was like, "Why do you care anyway?" She was like, "Are you really that dumb?" And I'm like,
Yes.
"Apparently." And then she's like,
"Did she touch your hand or your foot at some
No,
point in
she
time?"
didn't.
And you didn't?
I was on a tour bus 1,000 miles away, and she was sitting in Alabama. So I just assumed, like, I thought she liked my buddy Scott. And then literally when I said that, she was like, "No." She goes, "I don't even like little guys." And I'm like, "So you like me?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, well, cool."
So
But it took her saying that for me to get over that victim. Like, I automatically thought she didn't want me, because my victim mentality was killing my dream or my hopes or my desire before it ever started.
And that's a great point.
what I hear is you gave up control.
Yeah.
Like, period.
Yeah.
Right? That victim mentality, you answered everything that was going to happen to you, and you gave up control.
Yep.
Luckily, she came around and gave you your control back. But
Yeah. Well, she was still in control. She decided when we ended the relationship. Well, she decided that she was out of the relationship, But it's like there's so many different ways to look at the victim mentality. If you go into any situation thinking you're going to fail, lifting weights. I can tell you, when I first started lifting weights, I would get under a weight thinking I wasn't going to be able to do it, and I wouldn't be able to do it. As soon as I flipped that switch in my head to be like, "You know what? I'm about to go in here and lift this weight." Now there was times that I still failed, but a lot more times than not, I would push that weight. And even when I started to fail, because I had too much, like, no, I'm not gonna fail, I would push through it. Whereas if I would come off that bench and I already had the mentality I couldn't do it, I get a quarter way up, and then I can't do it, get it. And then I was like, finally I started, no, I'm gonna keep struggling, I'm gonna keep pushing. It's inching up, it's inching up, it's inching up, and all of a sudden it locks out, and you're like, dude, I freaking did it. So when you get under that piece of weight or whatever it is you're going after, and you have the mentality that I'm going to succeed, way more likely chance you're actually going to succeed. Doesn't mean you're never going to fail, but it just means that if you do fail, you're probably going to try again.
Yeah.
And the next time you're probably going to succeed.
I've got a mentor in my life, Jacob Staller. He's heard a few guys around us say they can't run a mile or 3 miles, let's say. And he'd say
5K or something.
If you got a guy chasing you with a gun trying to kill you, you'll run them 3 miles. You can run the 3 miles. Yeah. You're just choosing not to.
Yeah.
It's a massive difference. So when your life is on the line, probably going to run them damn 3 miles.
Or I'm going to get somewhere where he can't see me, and then when he comes running by, I'm about to jump out and wreck that dude's life. Although I did just see this clip the other day. This guy, big old dude, was on this front porch trying to pick up his son, and they didn't want to let him pick up his son, and he starts yelling at the guy. The guy comes out there, and he brings his gun, and he goes, "You better use it. You better use it." And then all of a sudden he tries to grab the gun away, and the guy gets thrown to the ground. He jumps up, pow, and just kills him right there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now
with the ex-wife watching.
Yeah. And then they just sit there and they talk. They're like, "Oh, I can't believe you did that. I just can't. Now, what if he dies?" I'm like, he's
dead.
He hit the ground and didn't move. I mean, he's out. He shot him right in the heart, But I literally, now I think that guy's going to prison for the rest of his life, and his whole life is ruined. And
His murder.
The little boy that he was there, the guy was there to pick up his son. That little boy's life is not ruined, but it's going to have a lot more hardships. Everything in that whole family, because that guy decided to go grab that gun. At the end of the day, maybe the guy did end up whipping his ass, because it was a big old dude grabbing on him. That guy might have ended up whipping his ass, but that would have been all it would have been. So when he ran in and got that gun, he intended to use it, obviously. And he had no remorse. And of course, I don't know the whole story. I don't know what happened before that. Maybe he's threatened them a million times. Maybe he used to beat that woman. Maybe he's been mean to the kid. I don't know the whole story. I just know that in that moment when he decided to go get that gun, he decided to mess up everybody's life in that entire situation.
I agree. I've seen it.
And maybe it was a victim mentality. He didn't want to walk around with a whooped ass. To me, I'd rather walk around with a whooped ass than going to prison and getting a whooped ass. You know what I'm saying?
About 6 inches.
Might be a little small there. Anyway, yeah. So, man, there's a lot of stuff with the victim mentality. You know what's funny? I got invited, or I got sent this thing to do this Great American Speak Off this past week, and it's a Grant Cardone thing. And
Now, before he goes any further, because this is probably the most impressive thing I've ever heard out of Vinny. To get into this, he had to cut his story down to speak on his life to 60 seconds.
Whoa.
well,
And he did it.
Can you still repeat?
Now
it?
he can't do anything like that in here. I don't.
oh, I can. But, you know, my wife...
Well, he has to stay up
my
till
wife
3 a.m. writing the
appreciates-
speech out.
My wife appreciates that everything I do takes longer than 60 seconds. That's all I'm saying. Well, most of the time.
Unless
Anyway.
it's at the airport, right?
No, yeah. Well, no, that was still... We had people like, what are y'all doing in that family bathroom? We need to use it. Shh. Go away.
Breastfeeding.
That answers my question from earlier. It was the family bathroom.
Yeah, it was
I
a
was
family.
scared. I was like, I'd be scared shitless.
No, if it was like a family restroom. I mean, we went in and locked the door the whole nine. Anyways, we don't have to get back on that subject. So, that was a whole different episode. Or did we put it on the... No, that wasn't on the episode.
Yeah, it was a different one, yeah.
That wasn't even on the episode. Now it's on the episode.
Oh, was it not?
No, it wasn't on the episode.
My
Anyways,
bad.
it don't matter. My wife knows. my wife knows what happened. It was good for me. Anyways, no, it was. I had a victim mentality, and like I said, this isn't the mentality, but it's like victim moments, you know, that I think you go through. I went ahead and filled out the stuff and signed up and did all this because it got sent to me by probably 5 or 6 different people. Like, hey, you ought to do this. Nah, I'm not doing that. They're probably just going to try and sell me a program or blah blah blah, whatever. I'm not going to go do that.
They try to sell you a program?
Yeah, but I didn't buy the program, and then they ended up giving me the program. We'll get into that as I tell the story, but I decided to get on and do it, and then I get the rules, and the rule says, hey, you got to be able to tell this story in 1 minute. And I was like, there ain't even no use in me doing this. I can't tell a story in 1 minute. And he goes, and also on top of telling the story that you're speaking about, you have to say, what is the reason why you want to tell this story? Who are you trying to tell it to? And what's the point of you telling your message? And I'm like, holy crap. So I looked at my wife and I was like, I can't get down to 1 minute. I was like, how do they expect you to get done? And then I went and watched the videos they provided of other people doing it. And I was like, all right, well, I got to do it. So I started thinking on my story, and I stayed up till like 3 o'clock in the morning that night. And also, I thought I would have like several weeks to do this. It was 2 days later that I had to do it. Well, it was the day after I got the rules. Once it all come to my email, I didn't even check the email that night. The next morning, I checked the email, and I said, oh, they got me all these things I got to go see. Learned all that. Stayed up till 3 o'clock that night and had to be on at 10:45 the next day. And there was 50,000 people that auditioned for this thing. So I put together my story, and I tell the speech or do the speech or whatever, and then I make it to the final 150. Out of all these people that auditioned, and it was, I think on our day, because 50,000 total people had done it, but on our day there was like 4,800 or something like that people that spoke. And so I made out of all those groups or whatever, I made the top 150. Then you had to get 2 minutes to speak, so you got to extend your story some. And I went and did the 2 minutes, and I didn't make it to the top 30. But I called him. I was like, dude, I just want to tell you because I got fired up. Well, then all of a sudden I get a call. They're like, hey, we really liked you. We want to offer you a free VIP pass to come down to our workshop down here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. You're going to get to work with Pete Vargas. You're going to get to work with Pat Quinn, I think was the other guy. And they're both 10X guys, and all that kind of stuff. And the group is 10X stages. So you're going for them to look at you and help you be on 10X. So I go and I do my speech, and I started off like this. Guy got it down to 1 minute. I said, I'm Bigg Vinny, and this is my story. Because you have to say your name to start, and you have to say your name to finish. I'm Bigg Vinny, and this is my story. In a tiny trailer in the back of the woods, Tennessee. I wake to the all too familiar sound of my mom screaming for help, and I get up and I open the door, and I can see my mom laying there with her head being bashed against the sink by my stepdad. Scared to death, I take off running as fast as I can to tackle him off of her, and it worked. I got him off of her, but then his anger turned on me. A couple minutes later, a few short while later, I was able to get away, and I saw my mom run onto the front porch. So I run out the front porch. But as I get there, she had stepped down to the front lawn, and I watched her put a gun to her head and pull the trigger. Now, I could have let that moment define my life, but instead I decided at that moment that I wasn't going to be a victim of my circumstance, but I was going to be a victor of my circumstance. I decided that you don't have to be the mistake you made. You don't have to be what you were born into, that you can change the things that you want to change, and you're worth the things you're willing to work for. I'm Bigg Vinny. I'm Bigg Vinny, and you can find me at biggvinnyofficial.com, And so that kind of hit everything that I wanted to hit. What I was trying to fight against is the victim mentality, all this other kind of stuff. And so made it the first one. Well, the guy that was the judge in our room added me. And I told my wife, I didn't win. She's like, oh, why not? I know you were the best. And I was like, well, there was a lot of good speakers in there because you got to watch everybody. I mean, you watched the people that were in your room. There's 70, 80 people in each different room or whatever. You watched every one of them speak, and there were some really good ones in there. What I did notice is that the people that won had a brand or a product or something that they had for sale. Booklets, they had, books, magazines, whatever. They had things that they were pushing, programs. And so the guy that was the judge in our room, Strom, I'll have to look him up, but he added me on Instagram. So naturally I added him back. I was like, oh, that's cool. He found me on Instagram. He followed my Bigg Vinny official, whatever, found me. And so as soon as I sent him the message, it popped up, or I guess he had already sent me a message. He said, hey, it was really great listening to you speak today. You did a phenomenal job. And I was like, oh, thank you so much, man. I said, hey, just out of curiosity, what could I have done? I'd love some creative criticism, some feedback. What could I have done to make that top 30? And he goes, be honest with you. He goes, you were probably the most talented speaker. He's like, your story was compelling. You were compelling, all that kind of stuff. And he got to hear the 2-minute version, and which goes into more about my life, about making it on Biggest Loser and getting the record deal and all that. But he goes, all that was great. He said, but when I went to go look you up and I got to your website, nothing that you spoke about was on your website. There was no articles or nothing for me to take home. It was just all about your music and and that kind of thing. And he said, so here at 10X, when we're looking for people, we want people that are ready to go out there and make money, or we want to help you develop that. He goes, and we really liked you, so that's why you got the invite to come down. They're going to help you develop your program, what you be doing, all that kind of stuff when you come down. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And but I thought it was great. I learned so much in that one little session about how I could be better, about what can make my speech better, how to tell the story. One of the things that whenever they sent me is like, whenever you tell the story, you want to pull them into the place with you. So if you start off, I was in a tiny trailer in the backwoods of Tennessee, and I heard the all too familiar sound of my mom screaming. And that little sentence that lets you know that he's a poor guy living in the backwoods of Tennessee, and he often wakes up to hearing his mom screams. So it wasn't like it was a one-off event. It happened all the time, I
was moved in them 60 seconds.
Yeah. And so, and like I said, that day I probably did better just because I went over it 8 million times before I did it, But it was interesting to me to see that I could shorten it down to that. I could make that version. Now, and what he told me, he goes, you need a 1-minute version, a 2-minute version, a 3-minute version, a 5-minute version, a 10-minute version, a 20-minute version, and an hour version.
Yeah.
He's like,
I disagree. You've been working on the hour version most of your life.
Yeah, but it's still, when I start telling the story, boy, I get off on some tangents because I start telling jokes and I get to feeling good about myself.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
I feel like he's more like 69 minutes.
Let me say this. Jared says this about me. But Jared can speak for a long time, too.
Oh, yeah?
I've seen him do it.
I mean, our Bible study, they asked, tell us something that everyone knows about you and that no one knows about you. And I think I used the same thing for both of them. It's like, I talk a lot. The only person I know that talks more than me is Bigg Vinny.
Facts. That's a real thing. I've noticed when I go back and watch our podcast or listen to our podcast when I'm working out that we cut each other off a lot because we get excited about knowing what the other one's already going to say before we say it. We finish each other's sandwiches. Yeah, see? I already knew you was going to say it. See what I'm saying? I know him well. We spent hours upon hundreds of hours on the road together.
Well, and on the stage together,
together, all that kind of stuff. So, it's one of the things that I've even talked to him about it. I called him. I was excited. And Jared's, not that I don't love you. I call you and talk to you about stuff too. But on this situation, because we've done so much of this together, I call him and I'm excited. And we immediately start thinking about how we can work the other one into anything we're doing. And it was cool because we immediately started doing that. Like, oh yeah, it's like, well, you attack that, I'm going to attack the kids book stuff. And we'll pull the other one to both sides of that as we get going, you know. Mm-hmm. So it's a beautiful relationship to have when you have somebody that you truly know has your best interest in mind, even when you don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
When they're at you know, what does it say that if they're at a table, beware of people that are talking bad about other people that ain't at the table, because you might be the subject of the conversation when you leave. Yeah. What's the opposite with Jared and me and you? I know that at places and rooms and tables that I'm not at, they're talking good about me, and they're trying to figure out how can I bring Vinny in on this, and for no more reason, not because it's more profitable for them, but because they want to be around you and spend their time with you. You know.
Now, some people don't. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you talk.
No, you definitely gonna go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you had the victim mentality, they probably wouldn't try to bring you in on everything.
Oh yeah.
So I was going to go the opposite. If they have that victim mentality, they might not want to bring him in on it because they don't want that much energy in that room. They don't want to lose, or they're afraid of losing something to him.
Yeah.
Seen that happen to you a lot.
I've seen it happen, and
you are the victim.
I'm the victim of the victim mentality. I'm the victim of circumstance. This is a geographical oddity. No, but I think it's an interesting take. You know, I think there are times when you may get left out of opportunities, not because you were not good enough or not because you did something wrong, but because somebody might be worried that your success or your thing might outshine them. And I think it's always the opposite way for me. Like if I have somebody that I'm like, dude, if I bring them into the room, it's going to seal the deal. It's going to make it better. You know, I think there's so many times when, because the way me and Jared handle things so much differently, he's so much more organized than me and things like that, get me in there and I'll get the party going. And then Jared's behind me closing, making, let's go ahead and get that on a contract. Let's go ahead and get that, all marked into place. Go ahead and get us a deposit check while you're at it, you know. Mm-hmm. Whereas I'm just like, oh, yeah, man, we're going to come. We're going to do this and this and this. It's going to be great. Here's all my ideas. And he's like, hey, hang on. Whoa. Don't tell them all your ideas before we got a contract in place. They might know somebody else they go to, you know. And, you know, we've seen that happen. And I think there's times, just like I said, those victim moments where you're like, dude, like that was my idea that I brought to you, that I helped pull off, and then you see them doing it without you. And I think there's been times when I had that victim moment when things like that have happened to us. But then we're the kind of people that eventually we're like, okay, we're just going to go over here and do it, and we're going to do it better.
My favorite one that I ever did was this new bike rally. Came to me and
what?
A bike rally, motorcycle rally.
Oh, I thought you said
a new one.
Something.
Oh, most of them are. But they're bike rallies.
At some point they become that.
Not the nude you're wanting to see, but
right.
Anyway, this new bike rally was wanting to open up, and they talked to me, my wife, and Corey Gearman, and we create this plan, and then I bring Vinny in on it.
Yeah,
and we keep creating this plan. We get hired to help make that. We're supposed to be a part of this bike rally, and that never goes down. We get paid not really well for this first year, and I don't even think I told you this. Fast forward like 4 years later, I'm in Sturgis, and this guy that built the bike rally comes up to me, and he goes, "Hey, you should play our bike rally sometime." And I was like, and immediately I was like, tell me more about this bike rally. And he goes on telling this about his bike rally. And so, because I was the one who said, you got to do something different than everybody else, I said, so tell me what's different about your bike rally than everybody else's. And he goes and spills this whole thing out. And it's everything that we've all created. And I was like, dude, like you were selling me on your bike rally that we created for you. Like how did you forget that we're the ones who came up with all those ideas?
So much so that when he came up with the things that would set it different, he reached out to me and said, hey, I think you should handle X part over here. And he told them, he goes, I got the perfect guy to handle this. He can host it. He can run it. He can bring in the talent. And I did. And they paid me $2,000, which was way less than what it took normally for 3 or 4 or 5 days of being there. But I wanted it to be great. And the mentality was, he's like, dude, we're going to help create this thing. We're going to be in it for the long haul. And they're 7, 8, 9, 10 years into this thing now. We're going to be part of this from the whole way through. So you create this, and you're always going to run that part of the rally. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'll do it for way less than what I normally do it for. Have that mentality, go in and do it. They're like, dude, you did so awesome. We didn't have to worry about you. We didn't have to think about it. It was great talent. It was all like get high praise. And the next year they come to it, and I talked to him, and I said, oh yeah, they just reached out to me. The girl reached out to me and want me to come back and do that. He goes, yeah. He goes, we're not doing anything with it. I'm like, why? He goes, well, they just didn't ask us to. And whenever I ask them, like, what are we doing this year? They're like, oh, well, we're not sure if we want to have you back this year because we're going to have, X, Y, and Z. We don't want to have the same thing every year. And he was like, well, wait a minute. What you told me was that we were going to help create it. We were going to utilize these ideas I come up with, and that we were going to be part of this thing forever. And so he comes to me, and then they come to me, and this is what they did to me. Oh, yeah, we want you to do that thing. And, of course, I don't even know that he's had that situation until I go to him. And I'm like, oh, I said, well, I'll find out what's going on. Well, then they call me the next day and like, yeah, we'll pay you $500. And I'm like, $500 a day? And they're like, no, we'll just give you $500.
It's like a 3-day event.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And now keep in mind, if I'm there for 3 days, that's not all the work that I would do. It's like I got to create, organize a schedule, make sure the sound system is there. Like there was a lot more to it. I would have normally charged $5,000 to $10,000 minimum, for just putting it together. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. That's not near enough money. And they're like, well, can you just give us the names and the people that that you would book down here? I'm like, no, you say that would still be me doing it. It's using my network, my connections, my people. So no, I was like, either you pay me what I'm asking, and this is where I learned from him. Sometimes you got to say no. Either you pay me what I'm asking, or I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do anything to do with it. I said, I don't mind negotiating some, but $500 is not even in the question. I said, I'll do more than $500 in work in the first day just trying to get a hold of, you want me to put on 3 days of having songwriters, entertainment all day, every day. And their thing was, yeah, but, well, we're paying you to put it together, but we have to pay the artist, the ones that are actually playing. I'm like, you're paying them $100 a person to come all the way down from Nashville and get up and sing. So you're basically just paying for their gas. This is not like I said, but if you want music all day, every day at a thing, it's going to be a budget. You got to have a budget. So anyway, so I ended up telling them no, and then they asked me if I had anybody else that could help them out, and I sent them somebody that I won't get into the names, but I sent him a guy, and he did it, and he went down there and camped out and whatever, and then the next year he called me. He's like, these guys are trying to offer me $250. I was like, dang, they just keep going down, even though the attendance of the biker rally kept going up.
Yikes.
But at the end of the day, we could have let that affect us in a negative way, and we could have quit. We've taken a lot of those things on the chin. There was another situation that happened, 2 years ago that we helped create this whole big thing, and we were told we got your backs the whole way, and you'll be part of this every year, and and then come around this year like, oh yeah, we're good. I'm like, huh? After we had already done
well, now, the difference is we made a lot more money on that one.
That's true. We did make good money on that one. Well, but we also sacrificed some of what money we were going to make because thinking we were going to do it every year. But anyway, we're still doing it. We didn't quit doing it just because we took some lumps. We still continue to say, okay, well, I'm going to go put this show together.
We sacrificed for a band named Filter. I'm going to go and throw that out there. I don't usually talk trash about other artists, but that's the worst band I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
By far. And they have nothing in common with me. If you just ask me, what are the important things in your life? That's not what's important to them.
I do want to note, they were phenomenal on stage. It's not anything to do with
I couldn't enjoy it. If I don't like you, I can't enjoy you.
From my standpoint, watching them put on a show and listening to their music, they sounded great.
Says the person who says something nice about everyone.
But dealing with those dudes' personalities, except for the one guy, the one guitar player that was from the actual band Ghosts, he was awesome. I can't remember his name, but he was great. But all the rest of them, I was just like, guys, you suck at being good people. I can't even say it as me.
Their manager called me and they're like, hey, so, just to warn you, these are some of the things that he's going to say on stage. And they told me about it. And I was like, yeah, he should not say any of that stuff. and they were like, well, he doesn't like being told what to do. And I was like, I'm just saying this is a crowd of nothing but ex-military. Veterans. These are all veterans, and they got these jacked up Jeeps, and they're climbing mountains and these things. Like, this is not the crowd that you want to go down talking crap about the flag. All right, this is not where you're going. This is not a good scenario. And he wound up not talking about. He said a couple things, and I think he could feel the tension of the crowd, and was like, "Okay, we'll just back off of that."
Oh, he backed off pretty quick.
I'll tell you the mentality of this because this is the type of person I just can't stand. There was one dude in the band that he kept his mask on the entire. I never saw him unless he was on stage playing. It was the only time that he took his mask off. Now I know a lot of people wore their mask throughout COVID and still are. I'm not saying anything about that. What I am saying is if you are going to choose to wear a mask pretty nonstop, even in your car, maybe when you get to the airport, you shouldn't take it off to smoke. I'm just saying, like, the mentality of, like, I'm going to light up a cigarette, but I'm going to wear a mask all day long because I don't want to do anything that could possibly kill me.
So this is no joke. This is the real full story of what he just told you. Every person that was supposed to be a runner, that was supposed to drive the vans, take them to the airport from the airport, which the airport was in Vegas. We were in Hurricane, Utah. Every single runner refused to drive them back to the airport.
Wow.
Because the guy that went to pick him up is one of the most decorated veterans in Utah ever. Now, you would never know this. I mean, dude, he's got this big old beard. He's got the gauges in his ear, and but he's older, and phenomenal guy. Great
Got
dude.
a bad limp from a bomb.
Got a bad limp from a bomb. He gets there. They pull all their stuff to the curb, get in the van, and he's sitting there. It's like, are we ready to go? They're like, you haven't loaded our stuff yet. And made him go out there by himself and load, and he did it.
Do you remember it started off even worse than that? Like they got there and he was inside waiting on them, and they see that he clearly is limping, limp out to the curb there outside, and they said, "Where's the van?" And he goes, "Oh, it's just right there." And they said, "Well, bring it around." And he goes, "No, it's that one right there." And they said, "Bring it around."
So he had to drive all the way back around to the airport and back around. You couldn't back it up.
And then they got in the van. Then they were like, "Hey, get our stuff."
Yeah.
Where are they today?
They're still out there playing.
Yeah, I mean, they're a pretty big band. Had that, "Awake, you're my airplane. Awake, you're my airplane. If you want to take my picture." Anyways, great song. So, everyone refused to take him back to the airport, especially that guy, who was a huge fan of theirs.
In reality, had I known that we weren't going to be booking this next year, making money off of it, I would have also. We'd been like, "No, we're not taking him back to the airport either."
So Jerry comes to me. He's like, "Hey, do you mind taking them?" I was like, "You know what? I'll do it. Whatever." I said, "I can probably lighten their mood. Whatever. I can probably make them feel better because I'm pretty good at that." So I get in the van and I pull it to the front of the hotel, and obviously I wasn't going to load their crap for them because, sorry. And I wait, and they load in, and the guy, little ratty-looking dude, gets in, and he's got his mask on. He goes, "Sir, I'm going to need you to put on a mask." And I'm like, "No." This is in 2022, so we're a little past the pandemic.
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, I'm not going to wear a mask." "Well, how do I know if you're vaccinated?" I'm like, "I'm not. Never will be."
Well, here you go.
I was like, "Guesswork done," I was like, "Are you vaccinated?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm not an idiot." And I said, "Oh." I was like, "Well, then cool. You should be protected then." "Good job, buddy." I was like, "But, no, I'm not going to wear a mask." He's like, "Well, then you need to find us somebody else." Okay. So I put it in park, get out, walk back inside the lobby and sit down and just sit there. And all of a sudden, one of the guys comes in and is like, "Hey, we got to go. Like, we're going to be late for the airport. Is there somebody else coming to take us?" I'm like, "No, I said, "You see, the reason I'm here is because everyone else refused to take y'all because of the pricks that y'all have been to everybody." I said, "So I'm not going to drive unless he shuts up about the mask." I was like, "And then I'll come out and drive y'all." And then he comes back a couple of seconds later. He's like, "Okay, they're fine. We got to get to the airport. We're going to be late." I'm like, "Okay." So I get out there and get in the car.
I want to hear that conversation. Did he go back to the guy and be like, "Bro, you have on a mask already. You have on a mask.
Yes, you have on a mask.
Isn't that enough?"
And you're vaccinated. And he's literally in the front of the van, and you're like 3 seats behind him in the back of the van.
My favorite thing about the mask was like the amount of times that I've been on a job site, or whatever, and like years of working construction back and forth, and you had on a mask and you spray paint something, and somehow that spray paint goes through your mask in your nose.
Yeah.
But it kept out a virus.
Yeah, microscopic virus. So I'm like, okay, so I get to driving, and I'm already like, whatever. And they wanted some music on. We turned on the music because the lead singer guy didn't want anybody to talk to him. But you know me, I had to do a little talking. I was like, man, I said, just want to tell you, man, you sounded great last night, dude. I was like, your show was awesome. I'm trying to like lighten the mood. I was like, really, really enjoyed it. And he goes, yeah, the lead singer guy, which is funny because the lead singer of that band is the brother of the guy that played T-1000 in Terminator. And they hate each other because they're both opposite side of politics, which is crazy. I was like, my brother could be opposite side of politics, and man, I'm still going to love him. I might tell him he's wrong all the time. But anyway, we drive, get all the way from Hurricane, Utah, all the way down to Vegas, get to the airport. This guy's complained about it. He gets out, still pissed off, doesn't say a word to me the entire drive, pulls the mask down and lights up a cigarette. So I roll down the window. And I say, so you're worried about a respiratory disease or infection while you're also smoking something that will give you lung cancer. I was like, smart, you know? And they went on their way, and I will never deal with them ever again, you know?
That's why y'all didn't get invited back.
No. The people that brought us on to begin with, they hated them too. That was
We lost a lot of money because of them because we were trying to help facilitate. Yeah. They went in and charged $1,500 worth of snacks from the hotel lobby thing to the room. And
there wasn't food at this hotel. It was literally just like chips and stuff. I was like, how did they take most of it with them? Like, what?
And they supplied breakfast for you every day, and they had like a little
I don't know,
coffee bar or whatever you could get coffee. It was a decent hotel.
I never go back and talk crap about artists, but like those are guys that was like, I have no respect for you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, so we found out later. I was talking to Saliva about Filter, and he goes, it's weird. It's like we were on tour with them, and like we sold out every place we went to, and we were like, man, this really works. And he was like, and like a couple years later, like the sales weren't going quite as well, and I called my booking agent and was like, hey man, why don't you put one of those tours together with us and Filter? That worked really well. And they're like, oh yeah, that's not gonna happen. It's a bad idea. And he was like, but why? Like we sold out every place. And he was like, just drop it. It's a bad idea. And he was like, dude, I'm not gonna drop it. Like it's a good idea. Why are you keep saying it's a bad idea? Because well, they hate you. And he was like, what did we do? And they're like, they think you're a bunch of dumb rednecks. And he was like, I thought about it and I realized every night we got on stage and we talked about our veterans and we talked about the flag and we were like, yeah, America, and he's like, and then I'd come off the stage and then they'd go on the stage and they'd talk about like, socialist shit. And it was like very anti-American. And he was like, I just thought that was their thing. I thought this is our thing. That's your thing. But we're just people, right? Like you all got a thing when you go on stage. He's like, no, that's them. They are assholes. They don't like us.
Which those guys are cool, man. Like we got to play with them. I've only played with them once. You played with them a couple times. Yeah. But they were great. I mean, they were fun. And you forget how many hits they had, dude. They had quite a few hits.
Yeah, still one of those bands that like you call up and you're like, hey, I got this show, and they answer you directly and they'll talk things out and then send you to their people to finalize.
Yeah.
I like people like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking about victims.
Well, theoretically, we're still talking about victims. Because of their asshole-ish ways, they will be a victim of never getting to do any of our shows that we book and put together ever again.
That's a different sort of...
That's a victim of circumstance. The circumstance is you be an asshole, you get to go be an asshole by yourself somewhere. Anyways, back to the story.
So that part is actually valid to the victim mentality, because you do see the victim mentality people often ending up very alone.
Yeah.
And then it adds to their thought that they're a victim without ever seeing somehow.
It's a vicious cycle.
Oh, so all of these people have a problem with you? Everyone?
Yeah.
Because I kind of look at it like this.
There's one common denominator.
Right. Yeah, I kind of look at it this. Like, if like 3 people have told me that you do this, I go, I probably do that.
Yeah.
That's 3 different people said you do this, so
it goes back to the world doesn't conspire against you, you conspire against you.
Yeah.
That's that band.
But
The world hates them because of the way they are.
so isn't it interesting though?
The
I bet
world
you
is a
that
vampire.
I bet you that all of us would agree with this. So I'm definitely my worst enemy. You can come against me, but you cannot come against me as hard as I'll.
I can do what against you?
You know what I meant. I'm still my worst enemy. You can't do anything to me that I can't do
At the end of the day,
worse.
we're still guys, you know? We're just guys.
Hey, at these days, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I know that because I feel like out of all confusing things, that's one of them I don't have to deal with. I wake up every day and go, this is what I am.
I have a penis. It may not be that big, but by golly, I got one. You know? You ever watch Kindergarten Cop? You ever watch
Yeah.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
Not anymore. Hey, so I was watching. Somehow I got on this kick of like watching a ton of like the Comedy Central roast, like just back to back. And one of them, Caitlyn Jenner was on there, and I forget what the comedian was, who it was, but he gets up there and he goes, "The Kardashian women," or he said, "the Kardashian family hates," and remember, Caitlyn Jenner is on the board, like they're gonna speak next. He goes, "The Kardashian women hate white dicks so much that the only one that had one cut it off."
It was a comedian. Was it
I
Cat
can't
Williams?
remember what comedian it was.
That'd be Cat Williams. Oh, that guy's funny. Cat Williams. Boy, he's been out there dropping bombs.
He's
Dude,
on a
I mean-
tear right now.
Out of all the crap that you can't say in the way that we're filtering everything, dude, if it wasn't for comedians, I would go absolutely insane because they spit so much truth right now of just what's actually happening, the insanity. Like,
Yeah, did you ever think you'd be watching Dave Chappelle after watching the Chappelle Show as a kid or a teenager or whatever?
in black and white.
Yeah, in black and white. Did you ever think that one day you'd be like, dang, this guy's out there the only one speaking truth? He's the one out there making any sense to me now.
Dude,
I watched him to laugh and get out of reality for a little while.
I mean, our pastor said not long ago, he was like you will hear more truth these days out of Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle than you will the average pastor. Mm. It's like,
Woo.
dude, I mean, like, that ain't wrong.
That's facts. The point is, pastors, if you're listening, don't be an average pastor.
Don't be an average.
Yeah, be above average.
Be more than 6 inches.
Wait, average is 6 inches?
I don't know.
No, it's 3.5, bud.
Oh, okay. I'm just slightly above, so it's good. Anyways, obviously we're getting into time again here, so I want to make sure we get to around to this stuff. So, with that being said, we've talked about how we do feel bad for people that have that mentality. How can we help them escape that? What can we do to be an advocate? Because I think mental health, it plays into mental health a lot. I think those people are a lot of times people who commit suicide and different things. So as much as we consider them like, dude, quit doing that shit. For whatever reason in their life, they haven't been able to get past that. How do we help them? How do we, show them that, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. How do we get there? So what would be your advice, I guess? I mean, you're probably the smartest one of us all on
I wouldn't
this
go
type
there,
of stuff.
but I mean, you guys have witnessed me call somebody on that in particular and try to feed into them of, hey, like, you've got to start taking some responsibility for what's going on in your life. If they don't want to do it, they ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just all there is to it. So for me, I choose to protect my energy.
Yeah.
If I continue to feed into someone and they continue to just keep playing the victim, there comes a point when I'm like, okay, I've got to bow out.
Well, and maybe sometimes tough love is the way that, eventually lets them out. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I thought about this the other night, and once the guy said, I got nothing to lose. So whatever, bring it on or whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking like, dude, this guy in his mind truly thinks he has nothing to lose. And that's the mentality he's playing with. And
You can't help that though. If you
and,
can't,
and while he's sitting there and he's down, he's trying to pull people down with him. And that's when I kind of flipped my mentality during that phone call, because I was pissed when we started having this conversation. We don't have to get into all that, but at first I was mad and I wanted to let him know that I was mad, and I did. I cussed, I yelled, I said all kinds of stuff, that is out of character for me, because I let him pull me down with it. But at one point in the conversation, when I realized how hurting this guy was, I decided that I didn't need to get down with him. I need to try and pull him up. And I think I was able to do that in some facet, and I think that's the mentality I want to try and take and be more like that. Most of the time I take that. I think when there was a personal attack on us, and I think it was more because it was on us as opposed to just, if it would have just been against me, I'd be like, hey, bro, come on.
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It was because it was somebody that you
affected
cared about,
it
not
affected him. It affected our guest that we had on our podcast that week. And it was a thing. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, this doesn't help anybody. And so I think that was the reason I got so mad about it. And I realized, and I told him, I said, listen, I apologize for talking to you the way that I did, because that's not what a Christian would do. And here I am. I'm a Christian, but I make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm sorry that I talked to you that way. I said, but I was really pissed, and that's not the right thing, and I shouldn't have talked to you that way. However, you got to take some, on you too for what you did. It was petty. It wasn't worth doing. It didn't solve anything for anybody. It didn't help you at all. It's not going to help you in the long run. It's not going to help us right now. I said, in the long run, I said, we'll get past it and we'll prevail like we always have. I was like, but for you, it's only going to hurt what you do. And so I just said, look, I said, I forgive you. I hear you. I hear what you want. I hear why you feel the way you do. Even though I still think you're wrong in what your mindset is, I can understand, from you, because of your mentality, I understand why you feel the way you do. And so it ended up well. We spoke the next day. He again apologized and, said that he wanted, to be able to have, not necessarily a friendship, but at least be copacetic if we see each other and all that kind of stuff. And I said, man, I got nothing but, kind things in my mind. I'm not even, I'm not studying any further past it. The problem is allegedly fixed, and today we found out it was fixed. And let bygones be bygones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, back to your question of what can you do to help them. It's something that I think this last year I found myself in that position a lot with different people. And the first part that I have to go to is I need to think about who I'm getting in business with in any way a lot more than what I do. Even on those small things, like it could be your mechanic, could be anyone, because feelings get hurt when someone is in a hurt place already. So I need to make sure that I'm not mixing one business with someone who's in that victim mentality. I also need to make sure that I don't bring that person into my fold too much.
Yeah.
They've got to be out here, because I don't need someone who's playing that victim affecting my family or my friendships or anything else. Yeah. Realizing, like, I don't mind, I obviously all the things that we put together, I love helping people, but I have to keep a line up, and the people I'm helping has to be over here. The people who are inside my circle, those are people who are not only am I helping at times, but they're helping me. We're inspiring each other. We're growing together. If you are in that victim mentality, I want to help you as well, but there's only so much time I can give you. Yeah. I need to give my time to you. I need to give my time to Jeff. I need to give my time to my kids. I need to give my time to my wife. So if you're going to be in that victim mentality, I care about you as well, but the amount of time I have to give you just decreased drastically. Yeah. I need to pour into the people who are pouring into me as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Brad Lee, who we'll probably be talking about a lot as we go through this, I watched on one of his podcasts, and he said a lot of times when bad things happen to you and you get your feelings hurt, or you get done the wrong way, because it happens, not just for victims. I mean, there are times when legitimately you got done wrong.
Right.
And he said that will lead a lot of people to change the way they treat people, because they become more standoffish. They become more different stuff. They automatically have a distrust because something bad happened to them in a business, relationship or something like that. And he said, the thing is, you never change the way you treat people. You just change the people you treat. And I thought, what a great piece of advice. You know,
Yeah.
'cause I think so many times, like, I want to always give everyone my best, and I kind of hope, put everybody, I give you all my love and respect, and it's yours to keep or lose. That's kind of my mentality. It's always been my mentality. I don't make anybody earn my respect. Like, I never put myself on this level, like, you have to earn my respect. However, through learning all this stuff, it's like, before I give into you and I pour into you and I do all this other stuff, I can still show you love and respect without opening up my entire bag of everything I have to offer to you, until you've earned that position in my life of like, no, I know that he's got my best interest in mind, or she's got my best interest in mind, you know, and how to do that. So,
well, that's a different sort of pour, though, that you're talking about as well. Because once again, I do want to pour into those who need it.
oh yeah, absolutely.
But if I'm honest, if you've got all the capabilities that I have, your issues are a little bit on you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that I've met that they don't, and I'm not trying to speak too highly of myself, or maybe I'll speak on both of you guys, because that's easier to do. There's a lot of people in the world that do not have the drive, nor the mind, nor the talent that you two have.
Yeah.
They just don't. And when you meet those people, I want to pour into those people more, because I know what you could be. Like, I know that so many people just have no understanding. Like, if you get in a bad situation, Jeff, you immediately start looking for ways to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
If you get in a bad situation, Vinny, you immediately start looking. There are a lot of people that how to get out of that situation doesn't occur to them in any way.
Yep.
So, you know, there's a quote in the Bible that says that you pour into people, and if they're not heeding your words, then you wipe your feet and you go to the next town. It's the same sort of idea. If I give you that advice and I give you that wisdom that'll help change your life, if you don't abide by that, then I don't have anything else to give you. Yeah. If you will start making changes, then I'll keep pouring into you. Yeah. I don't need to get anything back from you. Well, I do. I need to see that my words are being heard. And if my words aren't being heard, I need to quit talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed on all that. Well, that being said, it looks like we're at the exact same amount of time as the last podcast went. Our
69?
Hopes, no, we're at
71. 69 whenever we noticed.
72 and some changes where we ended last time. My hope and desire and my prayer is that if you are in a victim mentality, if you're in a victim moment, I pray that you get through that and that you find the solution to the issue, even if the issue is you, you know. And so sometimes the issue...
Well, let's not find an end to that issue then. If the issue is you, let's just...
I mean, if you're the one that is making your life bad, I hope that you can...
If you're the problem, get rid of it.
I hope you can pinpoint why you feel that way or what you do. And I pray that you can make your situation better. We are in no way experts. We're not psychiatrists. We just have lived a lot of life between the three of us. And our goal is to help people become refined AF in this Refined Life podcast. You know, our ambition is to help people any way that we can. So if you've heard any of our stories today and they've inspired you want to do better, or if you've heard some things like, that could be me, you know, because I know there's times when I listen to speakers and they start saying something.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, crap, they're talking. My dad was the best at it. I don't know how
I was about to say, I've never been in front of a good pastor that didn't just like, oh.
Yeah, my dad.
He's talking about me.
I went to my dad one time. I said, hey, how'd you know what I did last night? He goes, well, I didn't do it until right now. I said, well, you said when you're up there, like, hey, now this message is meant for somebody in this crowd today. And the whole time I was thinking it was me. He goes, well, you might want to start thinking about what you're doing. And I was like, stepping on your toes. So I think those things are good, because if you feel that and you get that conviction, that's when you're able to change it. If you're walking around and you continue to say, it ain't my fault, everything is somebody else, this is happening to me, and for whatever reason, it's time to change that mentality. Let's go out there and figure out how to beat it. If you need some help, call Jeff. He can help you. Anyways, with that being said, make sure you like, share, add 5 stars, give us your comments, share it with your friends, tell all your family. And with that being said, also, Refined AF, yeah, we're refined AF. Golly.